Hi, and welcome to another edition of Right on Rangers Live, coming at you after just another shake your head loss, 3-1. Rangers fall at the hands of the Brewers. I believe that makes it 15 out of 20 lost on the road, if I'm not mistaken. I think that was the stat that got thrown up. Rangers have lost their last 15 of 20 road games. And this is coming from the team that won 11 straight, was it? 11 straight road games last October. Man, it seems like a long time ago since that happened with games like tonight. And this was a rough one. I mean, it started out looking like it was going to be just the classic pitchers duel. Rangers bats maybe would come alive late. It wasn't meant to be. And we're going to get into everything here in just a little bit. We're going to talk key moments, box score, do a little review up and down the lines. And then we'll also talk about possible solutions. We'll take comments, questions. We'll talk this one out as best we can. Of course, y'all hear it right on Rangers. We cover everything sports, but we put a little bit of an extra emphasis on all the teams we love from the great state of Texas, including the Rangers and especially the Rangers during baseball season. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Wish it could be under better circumstances, but rain or shine, win or loss, we are here to talk these out with you. So let's do it together. So Rangers lose this one 3-1. Let's kind of recap a few things. First of all, the scoring. Rangers were able to draw first blood in this one. Josh Smith coming through with the single on a ground ball to center field. Corey Seager was able to score on that. Quickly, though, bottom of the third, just a couple short innings later, Jackson Churio singled on a line drive to right field. William Contreras scored from that point on, tied the game up at 1. Then Joey Ortiz in the 5th inning kind of came up and hit what I would call just a wall scraper. I mean, I know it got a little bit further back. It wasn't like, right over the wall, but just kind of one of those jam shot. You got into it, but mile high pop up that just kept on carrying. I do not feel like that ball was squared up by any means. That ball was a pop-up that just kept on carrying. It was a pretty good pitch by Heaney in on the hands. I was shocked that ball got out. Really, really tough luck for Andrew Heaney. It is what it is. It's just one of those nights. And when Joey Ortiz hit that home run, it's the bottom of the 5th. It's starting to get late. At that point, I didn't feel like the game was out of reach, but it just felt really disheartening that the Rangers could not add on after the first inning. Josh Smith RBI single. And that one run is all the Rangers are able to muster in this one. And this is a pretty common box score for the Rangers this year. Score early, don't score again the rest of the game. That is a problem. It's something that off and on throughout the past 2 weeks, the Rangers have gotten a little bit better at. But this box score is very reminiscent of a lot of other box scores that I've gone through with you guys over the course of this season. Score 1 run, 2 runs, 3 runs in the first few innings. Don't score again the rest of the game. And that was how it went today. And again, when Joey Ortiz hit that home run, I wasn't turning off the TV. This one's over. But I just thought to myself, this is how it goes. The Brewers add on, and they add on late. Rhys Hoskins coming through with an RBI single on what was not a very well hit ball. I know that the way Seager was positioned, it was not a very easy play. I feel like Corey Seager probably should have at least knocked that ball down. I mean, look, I'd love to see the analytics on that one, but that one up the middle, the Rhys Hoskins RBI single to make it 3-1, felt like Seager could have probably got to that one. I'd love to see the advanced stats. It was kind of one of those weird half dives that you see Seager do sometimes. Not one of those all-out extensions like the Brewers had on a couple of very hard-hit baseballs from the Rangers. The Adolis Garcia, 100-mile-an-hour ground ball comes to mind. That was like in the 7th or the 8th inning. All-out, full extension play made by the Brewers' middle infield. I mean, Seager, I don't know. We know that he's not Gold Glove shortstop, that did feel like a ball that a major league shortstop at least knocks down. I hate being hard on Seager, and y'all know Seager, one of my favorite players, love the guy. It did feel like that ball in the bottom of the 7th inning, the Rhys Hoskins ground ball, 82 off the bat. I mean, that's not a hard hit ball by major league standards. Felt like it's one Siegs could have at least knocked down. I'll look up the advanced stats on it maybe after the live and see what the StatCast said in terms of how makeable a play that was. Maybe it's going to end up being a super low probability. I'm not saying Seager should have gotten the out there, but I am saying I feel like you at least can knock that ball down. I think probably one of the Brewers' middle infielders knocks that ball down. They do have a very good defense. So that's how it was all scored. It's not a very long list of scoring plays. 3-1 ball game here. We're going to go through the box score here in just a moment. Let me check comments, and I want to say what's up to all y'all that are tuning in tonight live, or if you're checking us out on the replay. Thank you so much. Appreciate you. If you're not following Right on Rangers, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, X, wherever, please go ahead and hit that follow or subscribe button so you can keep up with all of our latest and greatest content. Get notified every time we go live. I'd really appreciate it. Thank you, though, for tuning in, however you are tonight. Let me go to some comments real quick before I get into some of the players of the game, even in the loss. We're going to talk some positives, and then we're going to try and talk some solutions. But let me read some comments to you real quick. Natalie, what's up? I think one reason Jonah is struggling is because Garver was able to push him. I'm not convinced Adolis is 100% back. If he was, that slider in his last at-bat would have been crushed. I do feel like Adolis and a lot of guys right now that are struggling are just not hitting mistake pitches. I have talked about this before. You see a lot of hung curveballs, sliders that the Rangers can only foul off. You see a lot of fastballs right down the middle that get fouled off. And the Rangers are simply just not hitting the pitches that are over the plate and hittable. And they're not taking advantage of the mistake pitches right now. And I think that might be a little bit of an oversimplification, but that's what I see a lot in some of these Rangers at bats. And those of us that have watched a lot of baseball in our lives, you can see when a pitch is right down the pipe, right out of the hand, right? You can see when a pitch is hung right out of the hand. And I know for me sitting at home, you're just like, okay, let's drive this one. Come on now. And so many times on those pitches that you're watching go right down the middle out of the hand, or just clearly a hung off speed pitch right out of the hand, you're seeing foul left, foul right, foul straight back. And you're not seeing Rangers punishing those types of pitches. On the other side, you are seeing the Rangers opponents more often than not do that against Rangers pitching. Jacob Latz in the game yesterday, the grand slam, the pitch that he gives up, pretty much right down the middle, a little elevated, see you later. And those are the types of pitches that the Rangers are fouling off. So the Rhys Hoskins pitch that he just absolutely smacked out of the ballpark last night for a grand slam off Jacob Latz, that's the kind of pitch that Adolis, that Nate Lowe, that Jonah Heim probably whiff on or foul off at this point. We just got to be honest about it and transparent. No sugarcoating. We're not driving those pitches that Rhys Hoskins sent out for a grand slam the other day. Are we occasionally locking in and driving a ball? For sure. Are we doing that routinely and in clutch moments when we really need it? No. I don't feel that way by and large. The Wyatt Langford grand slam, that was phenomenal. I mean, I don't know if I would say that was in the clutchest of clutch moments. We had a lead at that point, and it was an extension of the lead. But it's when the Rangers are down, or when the Rangers are tied, or just need a big, big hit in a big spot, it doesn't feel like we're coming through more often than not. And look, maybe there's some recency bias. I'm sure that there's some numbers that clearly paint a picture, or maybe show you that it's kind of a mixed bag. But it just feels like when the Rangers are down a couple, down one, that big hit is just not coming. Another comment here. Adding on has been a problem. Yep, talked about that. Rangers scored one in the top of the first inning and didn't score again. The adding on late to bring up the Wyatt Langford grand slam, that's a great example of adding on. You're up 2-0. You make it a 6-0 ball game. That's adding on. The Rangers need more of that. Gio, what's up, buddy? Thanks for tuning in today. The offense was not good today. Rangers need a real DH. Go Rangers. Yes, sir. Go Rangers. I think that they are going to have Josh Smith probably do a lot of DHing. Now, look, whether you want to classify Josh Smith as a real DH, I leave that up to you. I think right now Josh Smith is going to be a serviceable DH, but I hear what you're saying. Like a typical DH is a guy that has power. Like think about a JD Martinez type. Not that he is like the most elite DH in the league by any means, but I think he's up there. But JD Martinez is a guy that can hit for average and hit for power, and he DHs for a living. Right? He's very comfortable in that role. A lot of the players the Rangers have at this point are position players that aren't necessarily fully comfortable, in my opinion, in the DH spot. I would love to see the Rangers go out and get a right-handed bat that can at least sub in the DH spot. Don't know who that's going to be, and I think the trade block is really murky right now. In the NL, for example, we went over it the other night. There are so many teams in the National League right now that are all competing for a playoff spot, and they're within like one game of each other. So in the National League, it's super hard to say who's even going to be on the trade block if we were looking at a right-handed bat to acquire, for example. In the AL, same thing. And that gets tricky too, because if you are even within striking distance of anybody else, they're not necessarily going to want to trade with you. So I think the NL is probably a likely place for us to go. Does that mean maybe some bottom feeders in the AL wouldn't be willing to trade with us? I think they probably would. But again, it's still early. There's still about a month and some change left before the trade deadline. A lot can happen in between now and then. We'll see. But I do agree the Rangers would be wise to add another bat. It's just not going to work to just say, hey, Josh Young's coming back, and that's going to solve all the problems. I've said it for a long time. The Rangers are not Josh Young away, for lack of a better expression. They're not Josh Young away from just being a stellar offense. They need one or two more guys beyond Josh Young. I doubt it's going to be two, but I'd like to see them add one guy from outside the organization. You figure Evan Carter's going to be back soon. You hope he can regain some form. So you've got Evan Carter's bat. You've got Josh Young's bat. I'm not holding my breath on either one of them. I don't think that they're going to come back and play poorly per se, but I'm just not sitting here saying when Josh Young and Evan Carter come back, they're going to be hitting 330 for power with a ton of RBI. I just don't know if I can say that right now. I think Josh Young is going to be a good batter for us down the stretch. I think Evan Carter is going to improve from what he did at the beginning of the season. But I can't sit here and say I feel super confident that they're going to fix all the Rangers' offensive issues. The Rangers have got to tread some water, and they've got to make it to around the trade deadline, and then we'll see what happens. When they get Josh Young back, that'll be helpful. But Josh Young going to Phoenix today to get reevaluated. The wrist is still a little sore, muscle tendon stuff going on. I don't know, y'all. It doesn't sound like he's going to be back this week. Maybe, but I think at this point, you can't assume Josh Young is going to come back and start killing it. He did fine in AAA, the rehab assignment. I wouldn't say he did bad, but I wouldn't say he was killing it, crushing the ball, mashing down at AAA. And look, rust, of course, is a factor. He hasn't played in a long time. It's been since April, beginning of April. But I just don't think Josh Young is going to be the answer. I hope that he absolutely crushes it and proves me wrong. But the Rangers, if they want to be competitive this year, you got to add a bat. I just don't know if they can sit around and wait for some of these guys in the lineup to get it going. That's what you want. You want Dolly to just catch fire. Just catch fire, man. Come on. And he's been hitting well over the past 3-4 games. Dolly is. But there are some guys that just continue to be in that mire. The offensive struggles, the offensive woes. We talked about Jonah Heim, even though he does provide a lot defensively. With Nate Lowe, we talked about him. Don't want to go on and on again about Nate Lowe, but it was not a good night for Nate Lowe. Nate Lowe goes 0 for 3. And look, put the ball in play every time, so that's a positive. But he goes 0 for 3. Just not ideal. And look, Nate Lowe is a Gold Glove first baseman. I think somebody in one of the groups that I'm in brought that up. Nate Lowe, Gold Glove, he's valuable. You know, those of y'all that have been watching Rangers for a while, you might remember IKF, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. That dude won a Gold Glove. What was it, in the COVID year in 2020? And he was replaceable. And the Rangers were wise to move on from IKF and let Josh Young flourish in the third base role. My point is, I think catcher is a little bit more of a valuable Gold Glove than first base that Nate Lowe has. I will trade Nate Lowe's Gold Glove for a first baseman that can hit for power and can hit the fastball. Nate Lowe is just struggling to hit fastballs right now. A lot of foul offs. It's not pretty. I hope he finds the power stroke. I just hope Nate Lowe can consistently hit. If you're not going to hit home runs, at least hit 250, 275. That's not coming. I will trade the Gold Glove that Nate Lowe has for a guy that can hit 250 for power. Just give me power and 250 from the first base spot. So for me, the Jonah Heim Gold Glove argument is different than the Nate Lowe Gold Glove argument. Catcher is a much more valuable position, in my opinion, than first base. You're involved in every play. You're managing the pitching staff. It's more valuable than a first base Gold Glove. It just is. Is first base Gold Glove valuable? Absolutely. First base is one of the toughest positions to play. And I mean, you'll have to trust me on that one. I tried to play a little first base. When I played, wasn't good at it. A lot of major league players have played first base, attempted to do it, said it's one of the hardest positions. You can't throw anybody at first base. Nate Lowe does a nice job down there, but we need more offensive power from our first baseman. We just do. Now, Garver, just going to some comments here, I don't think Garver is having a really good season right now for the Mariners. Now, could we play the game? Well, if he's staying with Texas, maybe he has a better year. I don't know. It's really, really hard to say at this point. But Mitch Garver, look, he's improved the average a little bit. Hitting, I say a little bit because it was bad at the beginning of the year, but Garver's hitting 176 for Seattle right now. He was hitting like a $150, so he did raise it up about 25 points. He does have 10 home runs, so that I think does have some value. He has 10 home runs, 31 RBI, but hitting 176 on the season, I wouldn't say it's a great year for Garver at this point. And then Wyatt Langford absolutely is going to be a guy that the Rangers are going to need to be able to count on if they want to make any kind of run into October. And look, Wyatt Langford can't go 2 for 4 with 3 or 4 RBI every night. The Rangers have got to get production from other places in the lineup. Wyatt Langford 0 for 4 tonight. And while we're looking at the box score, let's go ahead and just go through it right now. Simeon 0 for 4. Thought he was going to hit Wilson a little bit better. I know that the Brewers did kind of the weird opener thing, which really didn't go too well for them. But then Wilson came out of nowhere. Dude had about a 6 ERA in his last 7 games, and he totally shut down the Rangers offense tonight. Simeon was 2 for 4 off of Wilson in his career, and he went 0 for tonight. Siegs 1 for 4. He did have that base knock in the first inning, I believe. Run scored. Josh Smith 1 for 3, only RBI of the game. Dolly did have a base hit, probably could have had 2, but was robbed in the 8th inning. Langford was 0 for 4. Nate Lowe 0 for 3. Jonah Heim 1 for 3. Duran 0 for 3. He did not have very quality at bats up there tonight. 2 strikeouts. One was on 3 straight pitches. And the one that he struck out on, I think this is in the 7th or 8th inning, was ugly. So Zeke Duran, over his last 7 games, has not been looking too good. He's hitting 208 in his last 7, 5 for 24. Zeke Duran not having a great week, not having a last great 7 games here. And then finally, let's move down to Leote, 1 for 3 tonight. So look, Leote getting on base once. We'll take that from the 9th spot. In fact, Leote got a base hit to lead off one of the late innings. I thought to myself, we'll take this every game. If you can give us a late inning base knock to start off an inning and turn it over to the top of the order, we will take that every day. So Leote in I believe it was the top of the 7th inning, top of the 7th, or maybe it was the 6th. I don't know. One of the two. I think it was the top of the 6th. Leote singles, top of the order, comes up and just can't do anything. So it's unfortunate. You have tough nights like this, but it just seems like this is happening more often than not for Texas. It's a bummer. We can only move on to the next game. But let's talk about some positives here. Dane Dunning and Andrew Heaney. So Andrew Heaney goes 5 innings, 2 earned runs, 8 base runners, a little high if we're being picky, 4 strikeouts. But look, if you told me at the beginning of the game, we're going to get 5 innings from Heaney, 2 earned runs, I'll take that all day long. And Dane Dunning, like I told y'all, in the bottom of the 7th inning, really weak ground ball, ends up squirting through past Seager for an RBI. I mean, Dane Dunning gives up a run in this one, but he looked pretty dominant, I would say, the entire time he was out there. Came in a really tough spot with bases loaded after Brock Burke walked 3 guys and gotten out right away. So Dane Dunning, loved what I saw from him. Brock Burke, I really was hoping that he was just going to get on a roll for us. He had a great first 2 outings after coming off the IL. Tonight was just not his night out there on the mound. 3 walks, just a killer. And then you look on the other side, and the Brewers had no walks. Brewers pitchers did not walk a single Rangers batter. And that's huge. That makes all the difference. Brewers did not walk a single Ranger. The only free pass given was the hit by pitch in the top of the 9th inning when Josh Smith was hit. So you're not going to lose a lot of ball games when you walk none. I'd love to see the record this year when a team has walked 0. How many times have they lost versus 1? I would imagine it's pretty lopsided in the win category versus the loss category. I would love to pull those stats, but when you walk 0 guys, you're not going to lose a ton of games. And on the flip side, you walk 5+, it's going to get interesting, especially with a first, second place team like the Brewers are, first in the NL Central, looking at it right now. When you walk a first place team, when you give them 5 free passes, it's just not going to go well. So the Rangers have to do a better job of limiting the walks, even though Heaney pitched very well and Dunning pitched very well. Brock Burke coming in, walking 3 guys, didn't really lead to any runs, but it just affects everything in the grand scheme of things. You got to have Dunning come in a stressful situation. It's just not ideal ever when you're walking guys, especially on a first place team. Let me go to some more comments here. It says here, this one, Gio again, Rangers have not scored 7 runs in a while. When the Rangers score 7+, they win almost every game. Yeah, I totally agree. They put up 6 a few times. I think against the Royals, they put up 6 twice. But when they can get up above 5, things usually are looking pretty good for the Rangers. I would say if they can score even 5 runs or more, things usually look pretty good for them. It's when they score 4 or less that it generally has not gone well this year. Here's another one. It says, I'm frustrated with how the offense is going because I know the talent is there. I've said that so many times this year. I couldn't agree more. On paper, this lineup should be flourishing. This should be a deadly, lethal, dangerous lineup, just like it was last October. But some of the big names just aren't hitting like they once were. And look, the reality is, even in the postseason, there were some guys that were struggling. Nate Lowe was struggling in the postseason, right? We had Jonah Heim struggling in the postseason. He did have a home run in the World Series, but that home run Jonah Heim hit in the World Series was like the only hit he had all series long. I think Leote went 0 for 15 in the World Series. There were some pretty bad numbers in the World Series. It was fortunate that Adolis Garcia, at least the games he played, and Corey Seager were just locked in like on a different level than anybody else on the field. That was a big reason why the Rangers were able to be victorious at the end of that series. The big names were just playing on a different level. Corey Seager had a hot month of May and a little bit into June, but he's cooled off a little bit. We've seen the home runs decrease. The homers for Corey Seager not coming quite as easily. In fact, if we look at Corey Seager's game log, I don't know, maybe it hasn't been too long ago. I can't really remember off the top of my head, but let me check out last Seager home run. Last Seager home run came on June 12th, so a couple weeks since a Seager home run. So when your big guys like Seager, Doley are not on that elite, totally different level than anybody else, and then you've got the guys that are in the middle and the bottom of the order not hitting at all, it's not a great recipe for success. So I think that on paper, this Rangers team should be hitting a lot better. The offense should be clicking a lot better. But at this point, it's not. And what can you do? But hope that the Rangers put it all together. I don't know if there's a whole lot of tweaking to the lineup that can be done at this point. They moved Langford up ahead of Lowe. We talked about that last night. I believe I said, hey, Langford no higher than fifth, but I don't know why you're hitting Langford below Nate Lowe at this point. So they did move up Langford to the 5 spot. Nate Lowe hitting 6th. At this point, I don't know who 7 through 9 I'd put above Nate Lowe. Jonah Heim did have a hit tonight, but he's not really in a groove offensively. Zeke Duran, same. And Leote, I think you're going to leave down at the bottom of the order. Unless he is just tearing the cover off the ball. If Leote's just going 1 for 3, 1 for 4, you leave him right there in the 9th spot. So this lineup, as I look at it right now, there's really not a whole lot that you can do. Travis Jankowski, he has not been hitting well of late either. I think Travis Jankowski, if I had to look up his numbers for his last 15 games, I don't think it would be very good. I don't think it'd be very good at all. I think Jankowski is barely above the Mendoza line. And you're not going to go Robbie Grossman against the righty, against Wilson. Yeah, they started the lefty, but you knew that he was only going to be going an inning or two. So you're not going to start Robbie Grossman. And I don't think any of us feel great about making Robbie Grossman a mainstay every day in the lineup. I mean, he's not terrible, but definitely not going to solve a lot of problems. So my point is there's not a lot of options. When you get Josh Young back, whenever that may be, that's going to be nice. When you get Evan Carter back, same thing. But I don't think that Evan Carter and Josh Young solve all the offensive issues. And this is coming from a guy that's pretty much glass half full every time. I will remain pretty staunch in my stance. They need to go get a right-handed bat. They cannot just hope that this offense figures it out. They got to be proactive and go get a right-handed bat. They got to look and see who's on the trade block as the trade deadline approaches, which is July 30th. So in about a little over a month, we'll see what happens. This comment says, Tavares needed to steal the base when he got on today, put pressure on the pitcher. You know what? That wouldn't have been a bad idea. So top of the 6th inning, Rangers were down 1. The only issue is Tavares gets on with nobody out, and you've got the top of the order coming up. So you've got Simeon, you've got Seager. Now, I will say this. Once Seager gets out, then I think at that point, you already had Leote on second. I don't know if you want to steal with Simeon and with Seager coming up, because if you get out, then at that point, you're taking away the opportunity for Simeon or Seager to hit a game-tying or a go-ahead home run. So if you got Leote on first, you steal him, he gets out. Then you got Simeon up to bat, you got Seager up to bat next. And you didn't take the bat out of their hand necessarily, but you took away an opportunity for them to hit a go-ahead home run. And so I think the risk probably outweighed the reward with no outs and Simeon Seager coming up. And then Seager, the ground ball, is able to get Leote to second. I think they probably would have stolen with Leote had Seager not advanced Leote to second base. Josh Smith up. I think they probably would have tried to steal Leote if he was still on first when Josh Smith was up to bat. But I don't know if I love the steal with no outs and Simeon and Seager up next. I understand the other side of it. You're trying to get Leote in scoring position, but I just think that the risk probably outweighs the reward at this point. Here's another comment. Seager right now, there's not a lot of pop in the bat. Now, he has had some baseballs that he squared up right at somebody, but like I said, it's been a couple of weeks since a home run from Seager. I'm sure we're going to get a week where he just hits like one every day for the next 7 days like he did earlier on in the year. But right now, there's a little bit of a power outage in this Rangers lineup. You would like to see some guys getting hot and the Rangers putting up games where 2 or 3 guys hit home runs. We do not have a lot of those games happening right now. The good news is the Rangers hit 500 today with runners in scoring position. Unfortunately, there were only 2 opportunities with runners in scoring position today. So the Rangers go 1 for 2, and they only left 4 people on base. So that number looks nice, but when you only have about 6 base runners all game long, that number usually is pretty low. So there's the glass half full stats for you right there. Marcus Simeon, look, I hate to get on Simeon too much. I do think that the Rangers could be getting more out of Marcus Simeon right now. The thing with Simeon right now is he's got what the team lead in RBI, 44 RBI, 11 bombs, leading the team in hits. It's just hard to get on Simeon because he's the guy that leads us in pretty much every offensive category. But if I'm being totally real, I agree with you. I think Marcus, that average needs to be more up around 300 for the kind of contract that he has. I love Simi, hard-nosed player. He's a guy that grinds out every day. But I do think for the amount of money that we are paying both Seager and Simeon, we need them to be closer to 275, 300 in terms of their average. He's the leadoff guy. You've got to get on base. Simeon tonight, not on base once. And the only thing that I've said about Marcus Simeon that I'd really like to see him improve on is Marcus Simeon just does not walk very much. He just doesn't walk very much. And that is one thing that I've always said I'd like to see him improve upon. So you'd love for your leadoff guy to be sniffing 100 walks, if at all possible, especially an elite player like Simeon. Last year, Simi, 72 walks. In 2022, he had 53. Unfortunately, with Simi, he's just not a guy that walks a lot. And it is ideal when your leadoff hitter has that good eye, has that patience, and gets on base via the walk as well as the hit. So that's always kind of been a small complaint I've had about Simeon. I wish that he'd take more walks, but he's an aggressive hitter up there. I'm not saying they need to demote him and not have him hit leadoff anymore, but it's just hard to pick on Simi when he leads the team in so many offensive categories. But again, if I'm being real, I do think he needs to contribute and play at even higher level than where he's at right now. Simeon looks good right now because not a lot of other Rangers players do look good at the moment. But I think we could be getting more out of Marcus. I don't think Marcus is the problem, but I do think that for the amount of money that we're paying him, he needs to be getting on base at a little bit of a better clip. He did well to come through with the bases loaded a few games ago against the Royals. Those are the kinds of hits we need from Simeon. But tonight is a good example of a moment where you needed Seager and Simeon to come up big in the late innings. It's a close game. It's well within their grasp. to affect the game when it's 2-1, 3-1. And Simeon Seager came up empty today in the late innings. And when those guys are coming up empty late and you know that the bottom half of your order is struggling, it's not going to work out a lot for you. I do think that Josh Smith could possibly be a good leadoff hitter for the Rangers if they wanted to go that route. In fact, I've always said if the Rangers could have a leadoff hitter that hits for contact, speedy, with a good eye, I wouldn't mind seeing Simeon hit second, Seager hit third. I don't think that's the worst idea. I don't know how much of a difference it would really make right now. So if you move Josh Smith to leadoff, how big of a difference would that really make? I don't know. I'm not going to sit here and say that would solve all the Rangers' problems. But I will say I'm definitely open if the Rangers do find a leadoff prototype hitter, guy who puts the ball in play, takes walks, a guy that can steal bases. I don't think moving Marcus to the 2 spot is the worst thing in the world. I do like with Marcus hitting 1, Seager hitting 2, you maximize the number of at-bats they have throughout the course of a game and a season. But I do think if you move Marcus back to second, if you move Seager back to third, now you're probably presenting more opportunities for those guys to drive in runners, which might make a difference in a struggling offense. It's hard to say. I think at this point, Josh Smith is about the only guy you would probably want hitting leadoff at this point. And we're just throwing out solutions, ideas. That's all we're doing right now. Hey, what could possibly jumpstart this team? That's all we're throwing out here. I think that's an interesting idea. I don't think the Rangers are probably going to go to it. And who knows? I don't know if Marcus Simeon, I've said this before, does Simi have a weird thing about hitting leadoff? Meaning, is he just locked in and that's kind of what he's been promised? You're our leadoff hitter. And that's like a big prideful thing for him. Or does Simi not care? I'll hit 2. Some guys are more particular than others. Some guys really have a mental block when you move them up and down in the order. I don't know if Marcus is like that or not. Would he mentally, have some kind of letdown if they moved him out of the top spot? Who knows? It's interesting to talk about. I mean, who doesn't like shuffling around the lineup? Like I said, probably about a couple weeks ago, I mean, what we all love about playing MLB The Show and fantasy baseball and all that good stuff is you're in control. You're the manager, right? So it's fun trying to talk about lineup adjustments. I just don't know if there's any lineup adjustments the Rangers could really go to at this point that's going to make a significant difference. Just my opinion here. So at this point, let's go ahead and let's start locking in on tomorrow's game, which is a getaway day for the Rangers. They are heading to Baltimore for a series against the Orioles, a 4-game set. And tomorrow, for the pitching matchup, looks like the Brewers will be throwing. Let me check on this. Computer load up for me. Come on now. Looks like Milwaukee is to be determined. So Brewers have not announced a starter yet. We've got Evo going tomorrow. So, hey, we need a win. We've got Nate Eovaldi. Hopefully he can stop this small losing streak that we're on and get us back on track on our way out to Baltimore. That's what you need from a guy like Evo. So Evo's going to need to throw one of those games where it's 0 runs, 1 run, and hopefully the Rangers bats can get going. But it is nice to see Evo's name in the probable starter section. Brewers have not announced a starter. I feel like they had announced one. I forget who it was, like Rhea or something like that. I don't know. I guess the Brewers are playing around a little bit with the pitching. They had Wilson as the scheduled starter today. Then they went with the opener. So Brewers are kind of tweaking some things right now. But we got Evo going tomorrow. Let's go ahead and let's look at Evo's numbers against this Milwaukee lineup. So Evo has faced Adames 8 times. Adames is 1 for 8 against Evo. Bowers, the first baseman, is 1 for 4. Rhys Hoskins, 2 for 5 with a homer against Evo. So Hoskins, a guy to circle in the lineup for Evo tomorrow. Sanchez, the catcher, he looks like 2 for 14 with the home run. Yelich is 1 for 1. So pretty small sample size. Nothing for the Rangers side. Don't have any of that because the Brewers have not formally announced the starter yet. Hopefully the Rangers bats will be able to get going tomorrow. They have only scored a collective, 4 runs in 2 games. That's not going to win you a lot of series. So hopefully the Rangers can salvage one against the Brewers. And it's going to take a very good series in Baltimore for the Rangers to have a 4-3 week. We said at the beginning of the week, could the Rangers just go 4-3 this week? 4-3 would be a great accomplishment, playing 7 games in a row against first place teams, or I should say very, very quality teams. I think the Orioles might not be in first place, but they are up there for sure. Could we go 4-3? So far, we're 0-2, so we've got a little bit of a hole to dig ourselves out of at this point. Rangers would have to go 4-1 over the next 5 games to meet that 4-3 goal. At this point, I think 3-4 is probably looking a little bit more realistic. Let's get a win tomorrow, and I think split that series with the Orioles. Hopefully that ends up working out. If we can somehow get 3 out of 4 in Baltimore, man, that would be wonderful. But I'm not holding my breath, y'all. Orioles are going to be motivated against us. We swept them in the postseason. They're going to be motivated to do well. I really, really hope that we are able to put up some runs and be competitive in that series. Let me go to some comments here. Eric, what's up, my friend? Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, as long as the Rangers are losing, I think you guys are good. Mariners maintaining a pretty nice lead. However, the Astros may be creeping up a little bit. Astros might be creeping up. I haven't checked on the AL West tonight quite yet, but we're getting there. But tell you what, the Mariners lose 11-5 to the Rays. So fortunately, the Rangers don't lose any ground. We've got the Astros winning, so they gain a game on the Mariners and on the Rangers. Astros in second place right now. They are 1 game under 500, and the Astros are doing what I hope the Rangers would do, which is, hey, a little bit of a rough start, but things start to even out. The bats catch fire. The Astros are winning some games right now. They are also playing the Rockies, so let's take that with a little bit of a grain of salt. But right now, Astros winning some games while the Mariners and Rangers scuffle a little bit. The Angels are beating the A's 6-3 in Anaheim right now, and that's your AL West roundup. Standings as of now, we have, looks like the Mariners still in first place over Houston by 4.5 games. Astros are on a 6-game winning streak. Mariners 3-game losing streak. Rangers 2-game losing streak. Rangers are 6.5 back of the Mariners. And we've got the Angels 5 games back of the Rangers in third place. And the A's are 9 games back of the Rangers in third place, 15.5 out of first. So the Rangers 5.5 games out of a playoff spot. So look, with 80-something games left, tomorrow is game 80. So you've got 83 games left, and you're 5.5 out of a playoff spot. Still very, very doable. But the Rangers are going to need to catch fire pretty soon here. If you want to win 90 games at this point, the Rangers are 37-42. I'm about to do some real fast math for y'all. The Rangers, if they wanted to win 90 games, okay, they've got 83 left. They're at 37 right now. You would have to win 43 games with 83 left. So go 43 and 53. So you'd have to go 53 and 30 to win 90 games at this point. 53 and 30. The final score, by the way, for today, I see the comment here. What's up, bud? Thanks for tuning in. Rangers lose this one 3-1. Rangers are 5.5 games out of a playoff spot. But yeah, to go 90 win season, the Rangers would have to go 53 and 30 from here on out. That's a pretty healthy clip. I mean, that is a good amount of winning over the course of 80 games, 53 and 30. I don't know if the Rangers are going to be able to get to 90 this year unless they catch fire quickly. Now, you can get to the playoffs and not win 90 games. I don't know if you're going to be able to win any less than 85 and be able to get into October. So we'll see what happens. Sometimes weird stuff happens as the season winds down, but the Rangers would have to go 53-30 over their final 83 games to win 90. That's not going to be easy. Can it be done? Yes. Is it easy to do? No. The Rangers are going to need to catch fire here pretty quickly. Gio, totally agree. Going to need back-to-back good weeks. I do think Fosu is going to be back up, and we haven't been talking a lot about Fosu just because, first of all, still rehabbing. I think he's doing AAA at bats now. Maybe we see him next week at some point. I think the Rangers are going to be happy to plug him in. I don't know where they have him playing. I guess I'll go ahead and look up the minor league games and see what Fosu did today. So he is I think a third baseman by trade, but hopefully he can play some of the corners. Right now, looks like they do not have him in the lineup. No Fosu tonight in the lineup from what it looks like. He is on the bench. Looks like Fosu for the season is hitting 190 in AAA. So that's not great. I know AAA rehab assignments don't really tell the full story, but 190 average for Fosu, not looking awesome right now. But over his last couple of games, he's only gotten, looks like, let me see here. I'm trying to pull up on the fly here. Y'all might not work out. It looks like in 21 at-bats down at Round Rock AAA, 4 for 21. Yep, 190 average. So I don't know. I don't know if Fosu can be expected to come up and tear it up at the big league level. Now, look, will they try him because everybody else in the lineup, at least at the bottom half, is struggling? Probably. But I don't know if Fosu is going to come up and make a huge difference, if I'm just being totally honest and real, not sugarcoating it. Do you feel Adolis Garcia, this is a comment here on YouTube, do you feel Adolis Garcia has had a strong start to the season or a bit disappointing? Disappointing, no doubt. I don't think we would say strong start to the season by any means for Adolis. I think we would say disappointing, although he's coming around of late. Hopefully it continues, but no. Dolly has not lived up to what he did last October. And let's face it, that would be hard to do, but I don't think we're even half of what we were getting in October at this point. But Dolly coming around, he has had a decent average over his last 5-6 games. So we'll take that at this point. It was looking pretty bad there for Dolly for a while, hitting a $150 over a 15-30 game stretch. So we'll take what we're getting from Dolly right now, 100%. Well, all right, y'all. Let's look at the MLB.com front page and see what's going on. We've got, looks like a little bit of drama between the Padres and the Nats. Wonder what that's all about. Bench is clear as Ruiz and Profar jaw at the plate. Manny Machado in the mix of that. Shohei Ohtani hitting another home run. Go figure. Who would have thought? Shocker. We've got the Mets taking Garrett Cole deep 4 times. Mets are just winning some ball games right now. Goodness. We've got the Guardians and Jose Ramirez continuing to kill it. Skubal pitching great against the Phillies and Ranger Suarez. That's a great lefty battle. Ranger Suarez and Tarek Skubal from the Tigers. Astros, unfortunately, are on the front page, having won their 6th straight. And they're talking about Ortiz, the Brewers' third baseman, helping his all-star case with the go-ahead home run. And beyond that, there's not a whole lot else. We've got a game that's, I think, early tomorrow, day game. Let's check that out and see what time, Texas time, that game will be starting up. Looks like The game is going to be a 1:10 Texas time start. That'll be 11:10 for me out here in Vegas. So little day baseball for you in the middle of the week. I always kind of like that. It helps kind of break up the work day, give you something to keep your eye on while your day is going on. And then the Rangers will hop on a flight to Baltimore to start a 4-game set with the Orioles. Let's do a final check of the comments. Looks like we got everything for the most part. Thank you for everybody for tuning in today, whether you're watching live or on the replay. If you're not following or haven't subscribed yet to the channel, to the account, I'd really appreciate it. If you know somebody that loves the Rangers or loves baseball, please send them my account, send them the channel, send them a video, one of the recent ones I've done, one of the shorts, or one of these long forms. That would be great. I'd be very, very grateful. Thank you so much. We're trying to keep growing this good community of good people talking Rangers baseball and baseball in general. So much appreciated if you would do that for me. And hope to see you tomorrow after a Rangers win. I said that a couple nights in a row now. We're manifesting it and hoping that it's a reality. Hopefully tomorrow we'll be able to go live and do our 80th episode of Right on Rangers Live in much better circumstances after a victory. But hope y'all have a great rest of your Tuesday night and a good Wednesday day tomorrow. And hopefully we'll see y'all tomorrow after a Rangers win, if not later on in the week. So I'm going to sign off for now. As I always say to end every show, God bless. Go Rangers. Have a great rest of your Tuesday night.